Hello everyone and welcome to the FishroomWA. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the 5 mistakes I made when I set up my first aquarium. Hope you enjoy. Okay, so the first mistake I made with setting up my first aquarium was buying an aquarium kit or bundle. So these are fish tanks that you go to a pet shop, they buy a certain brand and they include everything you technically need to start up your aquarium. You know, your inbuilt filter and your inbuilt light. When I first set up my fish tank, I did buy one of these. I found it does take the stress away from having to, go and find the right size filter for your tank so it's not too powerful and the right size light so it's not too strong. But I've just found over time, the filters and the lights, everything that's included in it just stops working. So they're not great quality. So I bought my first aquarium kit and the filter stopped working after 8 months, so I had to replace that. And then the light stopped working around the same time, so I had to replace that. And I definitely would have got much better quality for my money if I had just gone ahead and created my own tank. So bought just the plain tank and then bought my own light and my own filter by myself. And you definitely get much better quality for your money. Like in this tank, I bought this tank secondhand. It did come as an aquarium kit, but I remade it and suited it to my needs. So I took out the internal filter. I am still using the light, but I just found doing it this way, because I've got my little beta in here, I just found the filter that came with it was just way too powerful and putting too much flow around the tank. So I've just put a little sponge filter in here with an air pump. And yeah, for some people, aquarium kits definitely will work. I've just found for me, I just get much better value for my money building it myself and get much higher quality products that will last longer and you won't then have to keep replacing them. Yeah, so that's the first mistake I made in my fish keeping journey. Okay, so the second mistake I made when I set up my first aquarium is I got too small a tank. So I'm mostly talking about community aquariums, not one species or one fish aquariums like this one. So this is just a beta aquarium. So having a smaller water volume in this tank is completely okay because the bioload is very low because only one fish is creating waste. But if you were to have this tank, so this is 40 liters, fully stocked to the brink, so fully stocked with all the species that you want to keep into it to max capacity, compared to having a 100-liter tank stocked to max capacity, what will happen is the chemicals in the tank, so the nitrites, nitrate, and ammonia, will spike way faster in a smaller tank because there's less water volume. Compared in a larger tank, those chemicals are more diluted and will take way longer to spike and peak, which then makes a larger tank easier to maintain and balance chemically. But then yes, most people will be like, oh, smaller tanks are easy to manage, and I understand that, cleaning the tank, cleaning the algae, siphoning the floor and everything, yes, that does make it easy to manage. But then you'll have to do more frequent water changes because you'll have your nitrites and ammonia spiking more often, compared to if you had a big tank that will stay very low, making the big tanks easy to manage. So yeah, that's the second mistake I made, was getting too small a tank. So make sure that you get a large tank, about 80 to 100 liters, and that really helps you going and helps you enjoy the hobby more because there's less maintenance on the tank. Okay, so the third mistake I made when I set up my first fish tank was using fake plants. So many people use fake plants because they struggle to keep live plants alive. When I set up my first tank, I used fake plants because I didn't even know there were live plants that you could keep in an aquarium. And when I did, I was gobsmacked. I was like, oh my God, this is like a revelation. Sorry. And I was just so excited and I got into them immediately. As you can see here, every tank I have is taken over by live plants. But yeah, so using fake plants is good for some people because they can't keep live plants alive, but also makes maintaining your aquarium much harder. Using live plants in your aquarium, number one, they look amazing, like this tank here, but they also help keep your tank balanced. And when you use the waste from your fish, to grow, so it keeps all your levels in your aquarium balanced and under control. making it easier to maintain and enjoy the fish tank. So a little thing here is in this tank, I use 2 different types of plants. I just use foxtail and java fern. These are, if you're a beginner and you're struggling with keeping live plants, these 2 are technically bulletproof plants. They grow very well in any aquarium and you'll have a lot of success with them. So yeah, that's the 3rd mistake I made. Before we go any further, if you haven't already, please can you like and subscribe? It helps me out so much. And yeah, enjoy the rest of the video. Okay, so the 4th mistake I made when I started my first fish tank was buying live bearers. So when I first set up my aquarium, I got platies, and I didn't actually know what live bearers were at the time. So I just thought, oh, cool, colorful fish, this is going to be great. I'm, so excited, introducing the tank. I definitely had males and females because about 2 weeks later, I looked inside the tank and there were about 20 babies. And at that time, I was like, oh my God, I got babies, woo, just that excitement when you breed your first fish, which is always amazing. But then I realized that it's not just the one-off spawn, they breed every 3 weeks. And then all of a sudden, the tank was overrun with platies. And this goes for, this goes for every live bearer, so platies, swordtails, guppies. Anything that's classed as a live bearer will breed out of control in the aquarium. And you'll start with 5 fish and then you'll end up with like 80. And it just makes maintaining your aquarium and keeping a fish tank a little bit annoying because you have to, go sell the fish and then, you might have to buy more tanks and then your buy load goes up, so you start doing more water changes. And I've just found I much prefer getting a tank where everything, is stable, nothing breeds out of control. I just find keeping it, maintaining it is just so much easier. So yeah, that's the 4th mistake I made. Okay, so the 5th and final mistake I made, well, probably not final, I've made many more mistakes, but just for this video, the final mistake I made is not researching enough about fish that I introduced into my aquarium. When I introduced my first fish into my aquarium, I did no research on them. I technically just went into a fish shop, bought whatever looked cool, and brung them home. So that ended up with me having hundreds of babies overtaking my tank, and I just wish that I'd researched about it. So whenever you introduce a fish into your tank, just make sure that you do some hard research on them. Make sure that they're not going to be aggressive, make sure that they're not going to outgrow your tank, not going to overbreed in your tank, and make sure that they're going to coexist great with whatever's already in your aquarium. So yeah, that's the 5th and final mistake I've made. I hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe, it helps me out so much, and I hope you have an incredible day.